Hello, everybody. Hebro77 here, and today we're going to be talking about time. And what is time? Well, the Webster's definition of time is the minute or the seconds and minutes that make up hours, which make up a 24-hour day. There are 24 hours in a day, or 12 hours and a 12 hours in a 12-hour interval. But what exactly is time? Like, how is time measured? Where did it come from? Who started time? We sometimes see time, some people see time as a straight line that goes from one part moving on to the next, from beginning to end. Some people see time as an endless loop that constantly works its way back around from beginning, middle to end. Other people see time as sort of a construct, if you will. Well, the truth is, time is a man-made concept, and none of us really know exactly what time is. Or exactly when we started keeping track of time. There are different variants of time. There are different ways to look at time. Time is measured in several different ways around the country, around the world. Different countries measure time in different ways. We have interhodes, we have interloops, we have time shifts, we have time zones, different time zones. For example, it could be 1 o'clock one place, but then 2 o'clock another place. But in that same place where it's 2 o'clock, it could also be 3 or 4 or even 5 o'clock within that same area. I think that's Indiana or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, if you look at times as in the time zones, Central, Eastern, and Mountain, and then you have that one variant of another time zone, which I can't even think of at this time. It escapes me. But time certainly is different, isn't it? Like I said at the beginning, time is this thing that, for the most part, has a beginning, a middle, and an ending. We wake up at, say, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then an hour later it's 6 o'clock, an hour after that it's 7, and of course you have your seconds, your minutes in between that. Next thing you know, it's midnight and a new day begins. It's kind of like that feeding your mogwai after midnight theory. Like, when does midnight begin, and when can you feed your mogwai again? At 6 a.m., 7 a.m.? When does the feeding time from that mogwai begin? Is it just that you can't feed it right after midnight? Like, after midnight could be any time. It could be midnight. It could be 12:01. It could be 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Is it from midnight until sunrise where you can't feed your mogwai? Who knows? Anyway, a little warning here. I'm not an expert on time. I haven't done very much research on the subject matter. All I know is what I know. And that's all I know, and that's what I'm going to share with you. These are just ideas and theories and stuff that I've come up with off the top of my head. And we're just going to kind of talk about that today. And if I do ramble on and I go on to other subjects, please bear with me, because that's just how my mind works. So, going on, some people think of string theory. They think of a string like your guy. Like, let's say you're a person, and you start here at the beginning, and then you have another person, and you put them at the end of the string. The theory is that if you bend the string or put it into a loop, then you will eventually end up meeting yourself if you live long enough. Well, to me, that's kind of a crackpot theory, but it does have some virtue to it. There's also that whole thing of a time machine, and everybody wants to invent a time machine, right? Everyone wants. We all have that one thing that we did in the past, or maybe even several things that we did in the past that we do regret and we want to take back and maybe change maybe a job decision that we made that we judged poorly, or maybe a girlfriend or a boyfriend that we could have done differently in that relationship, or maybe even big decisions like buying a house or buying a car or having kids. Decisions that could affect life itself. But saying all that really has nothing to do with time, except for the fact that we all want to build that time machine so we can go back and do things. Or maybe we don't want to so much change things, but go back and relive certain events that made us happy, or go back and relive certain events that were traumatizing events in our lives, like that one time we got into a fight with that bully and wished we had done something different, maybe like fought back, or rearranged his face or something. But time travel is a different subject for a different time, which I will discuss in another video. Today, we are just going to talk about the basics of time and what time means to me, and what time could very well mean to you as well. Time goes by slower or quicker depending on who you are and what situation you're in. For an example, if I'm sitting here and I'm staring at the clock and I'm waiting in a waiting room and I'm waiting for a doctor and I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting, what seems like eternity for me, somebody sitting right next to me playing a video game on their phone, time seamlessly speeds up for them, and then next thing you know, it's their turn to go into the doctor's office. Just like that. That is because their mind is being distracted and they're not totally focused on time. So time for them is faster than it is for me, which is slower. You take for an account when you're a kid, when you're a little kid and you're growing up, and the days do seamlessly go by a lot slower than they do when you're an adult or a teenager, for an example. When you're a child and you're sitting in school and you're having to do all of this work at school, and the teacher's just going on and on and on about some bullshit, and then you have to look at your textbook and you look at the clock and it's still 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock in the damn morning. You're waiting for lunch. Your stomach is rumbling. I mean, time at that time seems to be going significantly slower than it does when lunchtime finally gets there. And then when lunchtime finally does get there and you're having your lunch and you're outside and you're playing with your classmates and whatnot, then next thing you know, that bell rings and it's time to go back in. That time that you're experiencing at that moment in time goes by incredibly faster than when you were sitting in class and doing a whole bunch of stupid work. which gives you the old adjective, um, time always goes by faster when you're having fun, when you're being distracted, when your mind is not paying attention to time. The time then slips away from you. And it's also a watch pot never boils. You take your water, you put it on the pot, you set it on the stove, you're boiling it for noodles or, for eggs or, for a frozen dinner or something. Well, not a frozen dinner, but like, how you put frozen vegetables into a boiling pot or whatever. Most people just put them in the microwave nowadays, but back in the day, you get a bag of frozen vegetables, you had to boil them in water. So you're sitting there, you're waiting for that pot to boil. Well, what do? You turn on TV, you watch a little bit of TV, or you go outside and maybe manicure your lawn, or, do this or that. And next thing you know, you go inside, your water's boiling. In fact, sometimes time will slip away from you so fast that your water's overboiling. That's when it gets a little bit crazy, people. As a little kid, your summers are longer, winters are shorter, school is longer, vacations are shorter. As an adult, everything goes by incredibly fast. But when your parents are adults and you look at your parents, time for you, which is incredibly slow, is incredibly fast for them. But looking at them on their lives, you see them grow and change and start to sort of slow down and weather away, so to speak, and growing older and then growing old. And then as an old man, you sit in a chair and you watch The Price is Right, and you watch your Wheel of Fortune, and you watch your Gunsmoke, and you watch time slowly slip away when nobody comes to visit you. And every time a person passes into your house, you want to talk to them for every second that they got, because you don't have very many seconds left. So for you, as an old man, time is not an option. Time hunts you down like a predator, relentlessly, as you age, going through the years. I mean, you think about it, as my wife always says, you start in June. From June until December, there's 6 months. 6 months until December from June. So, here's the thing. You got December, January, February. That's 3 months right there. And then as soon as March hits, it's springtime. And then you get into springtime, you still have a little bit of winter left with a little bit of spring there. Winter hasn't quite went away yet, so there could still be the possibility of snow, as I've showed you. So then your winter has barely gone away. Now you're mid-spring, you're moving into summer. It's March going into April. And then by the time you move into April, spring is here. Everything's showing up. You're starting to mow your lawn and do the weed eating, and you're doing your spring cleanup. The next month is May. And then by the time Memorial Day reaches, well, what do you have? It's summertime, dude. I mean, it's not officially summertime, but you could feel the heat. It goes from 70 degrees to 90 degrees. Next thing you know, end of May, early June. And then it starts all over again. From June to December, 6 months. You got 6 months here and then 6 months there. And next thing you know, it's another year. So, when you consider time, along with the Mandela effect, it seems to me that the Mandela effect was the exact point in which time either sped up or slow down depending on the course the Mandela effect was taking us. Back when it first started, it seemed as though time was at a standstill. And then as it got further on, now time seems to be speeding way up. And I'm noticing things I haven't noticed before. I noticed the sunrise, the sunset. Sunrise is way earlier than it used to be. Sunset is way later than it used to be. Even during the summertime, when the sun is setting and waiting for it to get dark, I remember it getting dark about 8, maybe 8:15, 8:20. And now during the summertime, it's 8:30 to almost damn near 9 o'clock before the sun goes fully down. So you keep that in mind. So is time a straight line? What exists in time for us humans that doesn't exist for God or for the afterlife as well? The people that have passed on, for an example, in the Bible it says that we will all die and we'll all be judged. And the judgment day will come. There will be, of course, everything you read about Revelations, which says about the destruction of the earth, the destruction of mankind, earthquakes, volcanoes, the dead rising from the grave, human sacrifices, all that stuff will happen, of what they call the days of Noah. And then of course you hear about the great wars, the great floods, all the natural disasters that will occur within that time frame. And once we get past that, there'll be the great ascension, where all of us human beings, well, not all of us, but the worthy or the righteous will ascend into heaven, and the wicked will stay here on earth. Of course, all of that is interpreted in many different ways, and I will not get into those interpretations just yet. That'll be a totally another video about, called The End of Days, what will really happen, what Revelations really means. I will make that video as well. Today we're just here talking about time and how it affects the afterlife. What my opinion is that when the judgment comes, it's not going to be one person at a time, because God has unlimited powers and he can do pretty much whatever he wants. It will all happen simultaneously. Simultaneously. Yeah, I said that right. Okay. It will, like, how we have people that are dying in the here and now, like they're dying either one at a time or three at a time, or, well, it's mostly been like, I guess 3 at a time. Like usually deaths occur in threes. You think about it like the Trinity. Everything is in threes seamlessly, and while we're here on earth, like I'm alive, you're alive, then our friend dies, right? Well, he's dead. While he's dead, he doesn't know he's dead. He's sleeping. So to all of us, he's dead, but to him, he's still alive. And he's only been, like, if he's been asleep for, let's say a person died 1,000 years ago. If that person died 1,000 years ago, to them, it's only been like a day or a few days or whatever. And then when we die, like if I die tomorrow, then all of a sudden when I wake up, when it's the end of the world and Judgment Day's here, and I wake up, everyone that has ever died will be right there with me. Like all of you people, everybody, my whole family, everybody. Because we all wake up simultaneously. I can't talk. Simultaneously. I think I'm saying it right, but I'm saying it all effed up, aren't I? Anyway, it'll occur all at the same time. God will have already judged us. Like, we will all just be through with the judgment. We won't even know what hit us. And at the same time, simultaneously, we will wake up, be judged, and then sent to wherever it is we're supposed to go accordingly. But of course, that's after the Great War. After the Great War, a lot of people will be either ascending or descending, depending. But that will all be in the judgment as well, because he will judge the living and the dead. So when he judges the living, he will judge the dead all at the same time. So getting back, what does that have to do, Hebrew, with time, you might ask yourself? I'll tell you what it has to do with time. The passage of time for us humans is different than the passage of time for the afterlife and for God and the angels and the kingdom of heaven and whatnot have you. With that being said, the passage of time for everyone is different to everyone else. In a nutshell, instead of thinking of time as being a singular and being on a string, time is actually a multiple and being on an arrow of events. Dang it. For example, an hour ago, like I'm recording this video right now. But now is now. But as soon as I say now, now's already past, so now is now become the past. No matter how many times I say right now, like if you say to somebody, look what's happening now. And they go, when? You go, just now. And they go, what do you mean now? And I go, now, just now. You just missed it, just now. When? Back then, just now. You mean now? No, now was then. When was then now? Now was then. When would then be now? Now is now, when now is now. You know that whole thing. So your events have already happened. So everything that we're doing right now has already happened, and everything we're going to do is in the past. Instead of beginning, middle, the end, we are actually doing things as things go by, and then time is going by as we're going by. If I record this an hour ago, then that guy in Australia saw this 3 hours ago. You know, or if I watch a video that happened in Japan a minute ago, it actually happened 10 minutes ago. And that's what I'm saying, that time is not on a straight line as we've always thought it was. Time is in an arrow. It could never be on a straight line, because if it was on a straight line, then the events that happened within the current time would not be current. It would be in the past. And if your past is your current, then it can't be your current, because then it would occur into the future. So, with that being said, there's so many things on here that I have to say about time, but I think I mostly covered all of it. Like I said, in the next video, I will go into time travel and the possibilities of time travel, and why time travel is deemed so difficult, because it touches on a lot of subject matter that I've touched on here today about how time is an arrow. It's not a curve, it's not a straight line, but it's an arrow. And when you shoot that arrow, an arrow never shoots in a straight line. It always sort of has a curve to it. That's why when you're shooting at an object with an arrow, you have to shoot ahead of that object when it's running, especially. But anyway, been a lot of stuff said on here. I want to hear your opinions, what you think about time versus anti-time, and versus what you think if it's on a straight or an arrow or a curve. Give me your thoughts. Um, Man, that's some horrible coffee. But I have one more thing I want to leave you on before I end this video. And that's if the brain, right, the human brain takes a while for information to get from our brain and for us to be able to process it. That's another reason why time, I don't think, is on a straight line. Because if time were on a straight line, even if it were on a straight line, it takes a fraction of a second for our brains to process it. And then you got the whole there's a kind of a bit of lag, like there would be on a computer when you're watching a video or something. And if you think about time like you think about light, like think about the speed of light, how long does it take a beam of light to hit your eye and have the reflection come from the eye, and then the brain to process what that light is, what that image is, and then to finally get that information and process it, and then you to actually be able to say what it is? That's something to think about when you're thinking about time as well. So, speaking of time, that's all the time I have for right now. Until next time, this is Hebro77 saying, I'll see you in the future. Good night, everybody. Hey, everybody. Speaking of time, don't you think it's about time you hit that subscription button? That is, if you like this video and want to see more just like it, or you enjoy my live streams, which I do every week, Shifty Sunday and Taco Tuesday. And also, speaking of time, hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss a minute of any of these shows or anything. Get notifications every time a new video or live stream comes up. Speaking of time, I gotta go. See you next time.